Hey guys, Shane Miller coming to you from Maywood, Nebraska. My group was Situational Leadership. I chose to present on Paul Hersey's book, The Situational Leader. So again, Maywood, Nebraska, go Tigers. You will see that the book is in the captain's chair. So here we go on our quest. My synopsis of Hersey's book, The Situational Leader. What I liked right away about this book is that he used the idea of quadrants. So I teach math, and that was something I could relate to very easily because I use the Cartesian coordinate plane every day in class. So we look at leadership style 1, high task, low relationship. Those are descriptors that he uses to talk about the output that you are going to have to provide as a leader. So you're going to be providing a lot of instruction, and you're not going to be spending a lot of time developing relationships. Now, the unwilling, and please disregard the mistake, and the unable are descriptors that he uses for the people that are in that category, the workers or the followers. So the leadership style here is one-way communication. It's effectively used when time is of the essence and instruction is necessary. It's ineffectively used when instruction is not necessary but still used. Now I kind of saw a connection here with the scientific management idea that we read about in the first era. Not so much that we're trying to make them as efficient as possible, but we are trying to make them as efficient as we can in a short amount of time as we can to get them up and running. The second leadership style, high task, high relationship. Again, describing what is needed from you, the leader. So you are going to be giving them a lot of instruction, but you are also starting to work with the idea of two-way communication. So you're providing guidance. This is effectively used when explanations are given and opportunities for clarification are given. So that's where the two-way communication comes in. You kind of ask them to repeat what you told them. They can learn it that way if they said it correctly. If they didn't say it correctly, you know they didn't understand you correctly, and you can re-instruct. It's ineffectively used when clarity exists and the explanations are still given. So to me, that's a boss on a power trip. The idea of the followers, unable but willing. So they don't know what they're doing. They need to be trained, but they are willing. So if you can just train them and then ask them if they understand what you're training them to do or asking them to do, they will learn that, and then with their willingness, they will turn themselves into the type of follower or worker that you're needing. From there, they might progress to the third leadership style. High relationship and low task. So here you're spending your time either building or maintaining relationships. You don't have to instruct them what to do. They know what to do. They are able, and they are not willing. So you have to work on the how do I make them willing part. So you can provide encouragement, you can promote discussion, and you can request contributions. So their participating should be the piece that gets them to buy in. Effectively used when encouragement and support and availability are given to workers that you know can do the job correctly. Ineffectively used when workers aren't trained and no direction is given. So you can't use this if they don't know what they're doing. Now, this kind of reminded me of the second era, the behavior era, because we are focusing more on what the other side thinks, you know, the feelings, the human side of it. At least that's the way I saw it. And we're getting one step closer to self-actualization, which again came from the second era. Now, the last quadrant has low task and low relationship. The workers are able and willing. So very little attention is needed from you as the leader. This is effectively used when you let your workers do what you know they know how to do. Ineffectively used when advice and support are needed but not given. So if the advice is needed and support is needed, they shouldn't be in quadrant 4. Now I'm going to show you real quickly the manipulatives that I use, some of the manipulatives that I use in my... Whoa, wait a minute. How'd that whiteout get in there? Gee, if I hadn't made that mistake over there on the first table, I might be able to convince you that I never make mistakes, and that shouldn't have been in there. But unfortunately, I make mistakes every day. Fortunately, I've decided to use those as teachable moments. Sure, I have a kid every now and again who blurts out, "Do you even know what you're doing?" But more often than not, I can explain to kids that even though I am the teacher and I'm the one that with the experience, I'm still learning. I still make mistakes. And a lot of the time, that gives the kids the opportunity to see that I'm human. A lot of the time, it gives the kids the opportunity to correct my mistakes which is an automatic win-win for them. They love it when they correct a teacher, and it makes them feel like they know what they're doing. So some of these manipulatives that I use in the class, I'm showing you these because I kind of see Hersey's leadership styles as being strongly related to what we're asked to do in regards to differentiated instruction in the classroom. So, for example, I could give the Rubik's Cube to some kids with very little instruction and they could figure it out on their own. On the other hand, I could give it to kids with no instruction, and a year later I still have the Rubik's Cube on the left. The cards, the dominoes, kind of good starting points with things that the kids see as already being familiar with. You can use those with some beginning algebraic ideas. The algebra tiles, more of a Leadership 2, Leadership 3 style thing, where they kind of have to know a little bit of what they're doing for sure, and you might need them to clarify that they know what you're asking them to do. And then the tape measure, geometry, again, I'll jump over here, the geometric construction tools. Gives them a hands-on opportunity to show you what they know how to do, or to show you to clarify, by clarifying that they know what to do. The building blocks and the flip chips, those can be used from simple concepts to a little bit more complex. The flip chips we use to demonstrate zero pairs, if they haven't seen that yet, in lower grade levels. And then we can use that to talk about inverse operations that we use in algebra and algebra 2. Now, I want to go back to the book here, and I'm going to, and I know that you're going to think that this is not school appropriate, that I'm actually trying to get inside this book and look at the insides. But on page 61, I'm kidding people, on page 61 is a great look at how these quadrants go together, along with some descriptors, the telling, the selling, the participating, and the delegating, that go along with what it is that you can do and why it is that you're doing it to make these leaders, these followers, closer and closer and closer to self-actualization. And they're going to start in the bottom right and end up in the bottom left by following that wave in reverse. So basically it's a wave going out to sea, depending on how you're looking at it. And then in the very back, if you look at the back of the book, they've got even more helpful things to go along with that. So I'm on page 123 in Hersey's book. All in all, I guess I felt like when I was reading, I was thinking, oh, this kind of ties to the scientific era, or the scientific management book that I read, and it kind of ties to the behavioral, the theory X, theory Y type stuff. Well, in the 21st century, I guess those were my little ahas, but if I'm thinking about when this book was written, of course those should be in there somewhere and able to be spotted, right? Because this was something that was used, those were styles that were used before this one started. So I guess I had to put myself into that spot and think about where and when this book was written to understand better that I should see some connection with the first era that we read about, classical, and the second era that we read about, the behavioral. So I hope that that helps. I hope that that's clear. Please feel free to comment one way or the other. I love pats on the back, but I also love the opportunity to get better. So if you have a critique or a professional criticism, not going to hurt my feelings any, to let me know what it is. All right? Thanks, guys. Have a good rest of the semester.